Hey kids, and welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about money and nature. How there's an illusion and there is a reality. Money is the illusion and nature is the reality. What does that mean? Well, people put what they love in categories and they have lots of names for them. Money, for example, has several different names. You can call it cash and dollar and scratch lettuce. I mean, it just goes on and on. And then denominations have them. Like a $100 bill can be a C note, and it just goes on and on. We have lots of words for money because unfortunately in our society we value money because money gets us things and things give us happiness, and happiness, it kind of just ends there because happiness derived from things is basically buckus. It's not worth it. It's not real happiness. It's not joy. And what we really need to do is strive for joy. In the United States, we are a very money-driven society. Whether you think that's capitalism or not capitalism, money drives things. And the love of money is pretty evil. So how do we work within this monetary system and still love our neighbor in the way that we should? Well, like I said, there is an illusion that money really exists. Think about it. If all the computers stopped working tomorrow, would you be able to use your credit card? Would you be able to get cash from your bank? Do you have cash in your hand? What if that cash is all of a sudden only worth the linen it is printed on? Where is your retained value? Is it in Bitcoin? Is it in another cryptocurrency, Doge, Shiba Inu? Is it in one of those? Is it in gold? Is it in silver? Is it in copper? Is it in graphene? There's a lot of different things you can store value in. Here is what you need to think about as a prepper. And as a Christian prepper, I always think about taking care of my family and my community. So the first thing you need to do is have your four walls, of course, your protection. You have to protect the things that are important to you. And if you have money right now, you can work towards making that happen, whether that is paying off your mortgage or downsizing to something you can afford a little better and easier. All right. Secondly, we're talking about the store of value. Can you feed yourself if the grocery stores just end? Because if the grocery store closes or trucks can't, for whatever reason, get to the grocery store, how are you going to feed yourself after that initial 1, 2, 3 weeks? It's going to be pretty hard to do that. So what can you do if you live in a city? Well, you can store water, you can store food, canned goods, shelf food. Get stuff that you like, that you just enjoy eating. If you enjoy spaghetti and meatballs in a can, you should get a bunch of those because if you can't get anything from the store, at least that's a meal. You could have one of those a day and survive for a long time. Anyway, why do I talk about that in prepping? Because when you are a prepper, you start to think about the value of things. And is $1 worth more than a bullet? And by that, I mean, I can probably sell a bullet right now for $2. Just one round. And do I want to keep the bullet or do I want the money? And you have to kind of think about that stuff. So if you can't get into the grocery store, what are you going to want more than anything? Probably you're going to want some food. So think about what you can have on your shelf that's going to last at least 3 weeks so things can kind of reset themselves. 3 weeks is kind of like where you start, okay? And then you move from there. Sustainability is important, but you can't just be sustainable all of a sudden based on, just deciding to go out there and say, I got some seeds, I'm going to throw them in the ground and plant a cornfield. Well, guess what? I've tried it, can't do it. As a matter of fact, you can have a really nice little greenhouse going and you leave the door open one time and your chickens find it. Boom. Yeah. So if you're starting from scratch, you need to start from, just pretend you live in a city and you're camping. have a bunch of stuff for 3 weeks. Water, I always say water's an easy one to store. Just store it under your bed. Just make your bed high enough. Get some water under there if you're living out in the city. A couple cases of water under your bed just in case of an emergency. Great thing to have. So, let me talk about nature. So, I'm kind of talking like if you live in the city, you kind of have to use this money and use it wisely. And if everything hits the fan, you're going to have to be at a trade, and you're going to need things that are valuable. Honey, cleaners, things like that. Now let's go back the other way. If you live in the country, we live kind of in the country, close to the city, but it's a little more rural. We have a little more land to play with. If things go poorly and we can't get things from the grocery store, we can survive off our land, right? No, I've lived here for 2 years. We can't survive off our land. We have a better opportunity to survive off our land, but a lot of our land has weeds and poisonous things that we can't eat. You can't forage. So we have to clear out things. We have to make beds, garden beds. So what we're doing is we're looking at nature, because nature is real. No matter what, nature is always real. So we look at nature, and I love bees, and I love the way bees build the hexagons and they kind of start to build out. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're starting smaller because we expanded. And we're like, we're going to do this and this and this and that. It was just too much. So now we've kind of, focused our energy, and we're going to just build out. And that's kind of the way bees do. They focus their energy on that cell, and then they start to build out. And they don't build out in a way that destroys everything around them. They build out in a way that it serves their purpose. So we're doing that because nature is real. So we're living as nature would. We are expanding out to serve our purpose, and we are creating spaces that we can grow our food. So we're at the greenhouse, the outdoor gardens and stuff. You can't do all those all at once. So we're doing one at a time, and probably will not be ready till next season because we've been focusing on building a house. So start storing things that have value. Don't hoard, but store things that have value, because value is based on what is happening. When Hurricane Katrina hit, people could care less if you had bars of silver or gold. They wanted water. And that's what they wanted to do. They weren't going to give you their gold for water, but they wanted water. If you had water, you were going to get a lot of money from people because there was no clean water. Simple as that. Water became the currency for a little bit. And sometimes that happens. A currency can become something that you wouldn't expect for a short time until everything resets. So, like I said, 3 weeks. So the meme that encouraged this show was basically a meme comparing that money was an illusion and nature was real. And it's true. If you live your nature, you learn to hunt, you learn to gather, you learn to grow and harvest. That is real, and it can sustain you for a lifetime. It can sustain your family for a lifetime. If you buy into the fact that we need to chase money, we need to have the bigger job, the bigger paycheck, well, that is only okay as long as things are available very easily to you. In the event of an inflation or just whatever, all of a sudden you have access to nothing. How are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to continue to think about the future when you live in a city and you are reliant on things that are happening or coming from the rural areas? That is a pretty scary place to be. So even if you're in a city, start prepping. Go buy yourself a little piece of land out nowhere. And on the weekends, go play out there. Go learn to grow. Go learn to do things. Don't do what I did and just jump in feet first. We kind of didn't have a choice because of our situation. But if I had focused early on getting healthy, and I had focused early on our small space in the 4 doors and going out, we'd probably be done with most of our projects now. But because I was a little scatterbrained and going here and there, I couldn't, because nature is so much faster than you can be. By nature, I mean the animals that we got, the chickens, the dogs, everything. And it just was way too much. So now we've downsized and we are going to grow out. So that's the lesson today. Money is an illusion. It could be gone tomorrow. And if you rely on money to get your resources, you're going to be in trouble if shit hits the fan. Nature's real. If you rely on nature, you learn how to fish, you learn how to cook a fish, you learn how to hunt, you learn how, you learn which weed is bad to eat and which weed is good to eat. There's a lot of different foraging out there, but what I have found on our property in particular is there are a lot of things that come up when I try to identify them that are either really delicious and nutritious or very deadly. So I'm just not going to eat them. And until I get somebody out here that can actually look at them and identify them and teach me the differences. So there's a lot to do when you are homesteading, when you are preparing, when you are prepping for whatever, the zombie apocalypse, blah, 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 blah. But the first thing you need to think about is protect yourself and grow out. That's what nature does, and that's how you're going to succeed. So if you've made it this long, please give me a like, share, subscribe. Would love your comments, and I will absolutely respond to some of them if they're cool. Anyway, until next time, work hard, be kind, and have fun.